this morning. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I better have another cup of coffee if I don't know to get the recording going. There you go.
Okay, it's on.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. So it's 10:03 and I'll call the meeting to order. All right. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the December 8th meeting. Does anybody have any changes? Bill, I just have a minor one. It's just grammatical, but there are instances where people's title of finance director, the words are not capitalized, and I think they should be.
Sure. We'll do a global change.
Great. All right. If there's nothing else, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
So moved. Nope. Go ahead, Diane. I'll take the second.
Okay.
We'll fight over it.
Diane
Kim.
moved it. Kim seconded it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. Our first guests today are Brooklyn. Do we have anybody here from Brooklyn?
Yes, Rushi Bean and Austin Tanner are here.
Okay. If you have it, okay, great. All right. So let me just, sorry, I'm gonna get down to that part of the report and look at so I was looking at your update.
Yeah.
And you said your your audit was close to complete when you wrote this 2 weeks ago. How do you stand now?
They are in their final review process. We just spoke with them today. It's within a week we'll have the final audit done.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I noticed your budget to actual, you say your tax collection for the current year is strong with over 75% taxes being collected. You're a quarterly collector?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What was your
The
collection?
property tax.
Yeah.
No.
What was your assumption on your collection? I guess I'm a little bit concerned about, are you making your assumption for collection rate?
I think it was 98. Yeah, we're making it.
Okay. Then I had two other questions for you before I go to other members. Your ARPA, I just want to know, are you following the same process for appropriating the ARPA grant as you would follow for any other grant or any other special appropriation? Or have you created a new process?
We've set up an ARPA committee.
Uh-huh.
We've met once. We're going to meet again, and then we're going to go online and advertise him. Probably have a public meeting to make everybody aware of it, to get all the information from anybody that wants to apply, and then we're going to sit down and decide what we're going to do. But the first step is to not leave anybody out that wants to apply.
I guess what I'm more asking is, at that point when you decide this is how you want to spend it, what's your next step? Do you have a town meeting to go to, a city council to go to?
I believe the ARPA funds have to go to town meeting.
Okay. All right. And then my last question was, what's your budget timeline, and how does it look so far? Are you happy with where it stands?
We're in the beginning stages. Yeah, we sent out the requests to all departments. We got most of them back. We're going to be setting up a couple of budget meetings shortly to go over them.
Okay. Oh, I did have another. So yeah, I had more questions. Your motor vehicle supplemental, does that get, because you're a quarterly collector, does the supplemental get divided up into two bills?
No, motor vehicle taxes are all due July 1st. But then
right, but the supplemental
comes in later.
Right. So you bill that in January. So do they get to pay it in two installments, January and April?
No.
So I'm a little concerned then your collections in February are so low compared to your budget.
For supplemental?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought we collected more than we had.
Here it is right here.
Maybe I'm reading it wrong. You know what? Never mind. My bad. I'm reading it
Supplemental
wrong.
is 225 and we've collected
Yeah, no,
205. so
that
far.
was my mistake. I was looking at the wrong column.
We all make mistakes.
The other question I had just had to do with looking at your expenses and looking at the wages, and the percent it showed as being expended at this point seems to be low to me. You know, I'm seeing a lot of places, you know, where it's in the 40% range or the 35% range, when I would think at this point it would be much higher.
Were you looking at the balance at the end?
I'm looking at the percentage of budget that has been expended.
That's the percentage left, the way ours works, I believe. Isn't it, Rushi?
Oh, okay. That's your
Yeah,
percentage.
the
Okay,
remaining.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. Great, thanks.
But Kate, I had a question piggybacking off of that, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the departments, though, look as if they might have expensed, or maybe they're encumbered for the entire year, because it looks as if they have nothing left.
Can you give us an example of what you're looking at?
Sure. If I look at Department for Central Supplies, it only shows that you have 6.95% left.
Central supplies or something you don't get every month. You buy them ahead lots of times.
Okay.
You know, it's soap and
So I just-
toiletries and all that kind of
I
stuff.
mean, overall, I can say that your expenditures are in line. I just see that, and actually your expenditures are kind of, I would say, are down, and your revenue looks to me like it's up. But in certain departmental lines, and again, I don't know their expenditure levels, it looks like they're almost fully utilized their entire budget. So I'm not sure if you would have to do a realignment or not. Fire facilities is another area.
Fire
Emergent.
facilities is paid. That's not a monthly bill either, so it depends when it's paid, how it shows up on there.
Yeah, you did encumber the entire year. It's on page 4
Yeah,
is where I'm looking.
yeah, I see what you're doing.
And emergency services is another one. 14% of the budget is left.
What's that
And
one?
if you go on to page 6, resource recovery is
Yeah.
Resource recovery is probably over. this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
We did a lot of repairs and changing the procedure over there, so it might be over this year.
I mean, overall, the overall budget and expenditures are down compared to where, if you're projecting out, looks like that they're down. But I just wanted to alert that you have these interdepartments that are within here that look as if they're, I don't know, they're overspending. Is there COVID money within there? COVID expenditures? Are they buried within the operating budget?
Do you say COVID expense?
CRP.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There's a couple individual items are way over, like a repair item in one building is way up because we had a major repair and things like that, but.
So I would take a look at it, and then when maybe you come into the next meeting, because that'll be, we'll be 2 months more ahead, you can maybe have some explanation for those variances.
Okay.
Okay.
Diane, do you have any questions?
I'm good.
Mike?
Can you just remind me again how things finished up for 2021 with the audit that's about to be released, the general fund results, and your fund balance position?
Yeah, so I don't have it right in front of me, but it was like roughly 400,000 under budget last year. 255,000 of that was, I believe, due to the Board of Ed returning unspent funds. But again, our audit isn't complete. We haven't reviewed anything from the audit yet, but it's roughly about 400,000. So our fund balance would be probably, it was 855, so 1.2, I would imagine.
Okay.
But that's a guess at this stage.
Sure.
Yeah, those are estimated numbers. They're not official.
Okay. And Kim or Kate, whether it's through OPM or direct, will we get a copy of their audit report as soon as it's issued?
Yep, the auditor is required to upload it to the portal if you would like us to distribute that. We usually do it ahead of the next meetings, any issuance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, John? Do you have any questions?
Trying to unmute here. No, I don't have any questions on your finances so far, but I did know if you give us a good feel on how you think next year's audit season will go as to timing. Do you have the resources and the catch up in place to get a more timely conclusion?
In all fairness, they put it off because of COVID. They had a couple of people sick with COVID this year. It's a major holdup this year, I believe.
So really the issues were not on your end, it was on the
Right.
auditors.
They were basically the auditors.
And I
Able
hear
to get in.
several towns with different auditors have had that problem this year.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Okay, Glenn?
I do not have any questions.
Okay,
Kate, I have one more if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Go ahead.
Actually, I have two more. One being
You said one.
I'm sorry. And I do want to be I know we have a big agenda, so we want to keep things moving today. The ARPA funds, I just want to make sure that you have the proper infrastructure as a grant administration person who can oversee that particular grant and make sure that they can comply with the U.S. Treasury guidance, and have that expertise in-house. And if not, then seek to get help in that area for the administration of it.
We've been working with CCM, and we also have a contract with NECOG to help us with it. So we have a couple different guidances on it.
That's great.
Okay. And one last question, as far as your financial reporting system, when I look at the reports at the top, it states that the date of the report that you ran was February 1st, the 22nd through February 28th, but the run date of the report was February the 8th. So do I assume that this is a February the 8th report just because of the timing that you pulled the report?
So I'm sorry about that. So when I
That's okay. I want to be clear.
Yeah, so when I run these reports, I can do the cutoff date, I can change that date, but really,
Okay.
You are accurate. So the print date was February 8th, so you're getting all up to date through February 8th, even though it's future dated. If that
Sure.
makes sense.
I understand. So, and I understand what you're doing. I would suggest that you then just provide us with the January 31st date, because what we'll do is we want to look at it on the monthly and at a month end cutoff. If you could then just pick your parameters of January 1 through January 31st, then we'll know that we have a solid cutoff, not 8 days into the new month would be my suggested.
Okay, so next time provide a month end report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Accum. I want the accum.
Yeah.
But don't go into February when, I wouldn't want anybody to pick this up immediately think that they have more months, 8 months worth versus 7. I would rather have it say January.
Okay.
So do you just want the next one, or do you want to go back December, January, and February?
No. No.
Just the next
Our
one.
next meeting is or in February, March, April. So then we would look at March 31st.
Okay.
Cut off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions for Brooklyn, thank you very much for being here.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
See you next time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is Derby. Do we have anybody from Derby here?
Tony is arriving.
Tony's arriving. Okay.
How you doing, Mayor Zeekins here from Derby.
Hello.
I also have my new Chief of Staff, Walt Mayhew, is here, and my Finance Director, Agatha, should be online.
Okay. If you want to turn on your cameras, go ahead.
All right, I'm on myself.
Kate, it's Glenn. I just need to note that Derby is a client of our firm.
Okay. Thank you.
I forgot which one. it is.
Okay.
One of the- is it there?
All right. So, looking at the question, the first question I had was on your response to our previous recommendations. And you say that you're gathering data to get a risk assessment on your pension and OPEB liabilities. Just want to be sure that you're, getting regular evaluations as well. Are you?
Is that Agatha? You on?
We don't hear.
Is that maybe one of the phone in numbers?
Sorry, I think this is a microphone I'm not using.
That's her.
There you go.
Okay.
So
The
you are
question
doing
of-
regular evaluations, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And
So-
your financial statements have reflected your liabilities
Yes.
as shown through the evaluations? Okay.
Everything is up to in a shape. We're doing disclosure 68 and pension and OPEB. So it's
Okay.
obviously reflected.
Okay. Okay.
But as
Um,
you know, we have a trust, and that's another step to take.
yeah,
Probably.
it's an important step to take. All right. So your grand list, where do you stand? Do you have any growth in it?
We have 2.5 growth on next year or this year? Next year. Next year growth is there. It's 2.5.
That's
For the
nice.
grand list. It's nice growth. Especially, I have a list here for 20. Yeah, I have a list, and it, obviously it's in the motor vehicle section most of the time, and 11% in personal property. Nice too.
Yeah, that is nice. Very good. Then my last question for right now, you refer to your 8-point plan about the fund balance. Just refresh my memory. Do you have a fund balance policy?
I supply to the board fund balance policy with many changes in boards and new boards, and it takes time to get
Sure.
to the policy. I supply like 3 policy already, and it's just getting right time.
Okay.
We're in a budget crunch now, so I would love to have a budget policy before I move on with other policies. It helps with other reserves build up.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, let's go to Tony, you're with us. Tony, do you have any questions?
I'm here. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Diane?
I'm good.
Mike?
Am I on mute?
No, we heard you.
Okay.
Mike?
Agatha, just a quick question. That risk assessment, is that being driven by your actuary that, is asking for a risk assessment to be done, particularly on the pension side?
So we definitely know that, past practice, it's not concern we going to increase contributions. We just want to be sure we are keeping certain level. That's all. How the level is funded, since we had few years of kind of short funding situation.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just, down the road, keep us posted. I'd be curious to see if there's some assumptions that they feel need to be adjusted and what impact that would have on the liability for the pension side.
Yeah, that's important.
John?
I have no questions right now.
Glenn?
Mine was just two unrelated, well, kind of related or not. With regards to the pension plan and the OPEB plan, you state that the city is using a pay-as-you-go method. When I think of pay-as-you-go, particularly in the OPEB sense, it's kind of covering whatever the current costs are. My question is that with regards to, at least with the pension, when you say pay-as-you-go, is that the current costs, or is that what the actuaries have determined for a contribution for those years?
It's pay-as-you-go refers to OPEB obligations only. We don't have trust. Pension is based on actuarial assumptions. I received actuarial assumptions last pension valuation we had, and I put it in a budget, basically. A pension evaluation is a base for our assumptions, original, that's why we paying for actuaries to do that. So it's good base.
Okay.
For the budget.
And then my other question was kind of down the list on the report they submitted as far as hiring that deputy finance director, to see how, if you were successful with that. I think you said you were going to do that in January, or at least you were talking to people. I wanted to see how that turned out.
Walt, would you like to take this question? I don't know.
Yes,
we hire deputy right now, but I think right now we focus on certain projects for deputy, including compensated time off setup. We want to move on with this funding to help with streamlining the process, so we don't have certain related reporting problem. So she's focusing on certain, I would say, processes streamlining.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Okay. Kim, and then we'll circle back. I have a couple more questions. Kim, do you have questions?
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to say more than two. Agata, hi, I hear that you're at your 6-month anniversary. So, congratulations. We know that you have a large undertaking with the work at Derby. And so you stated that the deputy position was filled. It does not report to you. Is it to provide relief within the finance area? Because last I knew we didn't have enough staff in the finance area. So I want to be clear, based on the organizational structure of finance, that we have enough positions to do the monumental amount of work.
So I don't know. Right now, I originally thought this gonna be that's how it was written. Position was reporting, but I don't know. Right now, she's gonna be focusing on a different area, like payroll situation. We having we want to establish better thing in the payroll area, because as I said, sometimes journal entry doesn't work for payroll. And that's the area she's going to focus on. I will have to pick up some work within the office right now as far as journal entries, bank reconciliations, to keep up, what was accomplished. But we still need, I still need support, to keep up with what was done.
So how many staff do you have? Because I know that there was more than one that was needed. And when you have an infrastructure with glowing audit findings that require support to get this stuff to move. So I want to make sure that the finance office is properly staffed to get that done, or it will never get done, and it has to get done. And it can't all fall on you. You can't do the job of more, So how many staff do you have, and how many vacancies
right now? 2 reports to me directly, payroll and payable person, and eventually I think deputy will report to me.
So you just have one payroll and one AP person? You don't have like a general staff accountant or anybody doing journal entries or bank reconciliations?
No. not right now. I'm gonna be, so I use temporary service to help me out for last season, but I'm gonna let it go by the end of this month.
Why?
Because it's expensive.
This isn't a,
But
we need, yeah, you need to find money or you need to have a support person. You can't be doing journal entries.
No.
I know, but you know, I have to also, you know, keep up with the. No, it's a good point. I think that also training has to be done within, and this is a department. I'm trying my best.
I understand. So, if you only have 2 people, we thought that there was going to be a deputy, and I think that you asked for another one, either a part-time. I think this is the same conversation we had before the holidays and I thought there was a plan in play to make sure that you staffed this up, but now it's February and you haven't been staffed, so I'm really concerned.
So temporary situation was resolved by hiring, you know, outside help, and they helped me with, you know, prep a lot, and it was wonderful to have this help. Since I started for 3 months, I was doing journal entries, but other than that, you know, right now I have to also focus on budget and other things. So I think in a plan, I put it in a budget, additional money for next fiscal year for bookkeeper, you know, helping out with regular accounting. But I don't know if it's going to be approved or not.
Okay, so you have a $42 million operation and you have 3 people to do this work. That is unheard of. So please help me out.
Well, you know, Kim,
Right.
not her.
Right. No,
I think, you know, our statement needs to be
the neatest. Yep, to the mayor.
You know, to the elected officials, that, you know, the amount of staffing is inadequate for an you know, city your size. You really
so with that, we hired. She will be helping eventually with the processes here. That's why she was hired, and she had a background of accountant background. That's why we hired deputy. But right now she's devoted to other projects, and I don't know.
Financial projects. So she's devoted to financial projects.
Like as I said, compensated absences. That's the one of the goals we have. But she will not be able to focus on everything same time, and that's obviously learning curve too. So let's
let's get some clarity here. You're there, the finance director. You do now have a deputy finance director who is focused on some special projects at the moment. Do you have an accounts payable clerk?
Yes.
Do you have a payroll clerk?
Yes.
Are they both full-time, those 2 clerks?
Sick leave.
Are they on sick leave?
Yeah, because,
Who's on sick leave?
The payroll person is on sick leave, so we have to I already cross-train accounts payable person to help out with payroll. So I worry about bills being, you know, posted later. That's why I run reports. You know, I'm trying to run reports up to date, so I know it's posted in the system.
Okay.
But with this kind of situation, like, you know, if your bills are paid or payroll has to be paid, that's also scary, because there's no really extra people who will, you know, hop in and do the accounts payable or payroll. So, you know, operation-wise, we need to really, you know, I think it's great to have bills paid on time, but and we kind of accomplished this already. But with like unexpected sick leave, you know, things are going behind. So it takes time to recover. I think it's not going to be that bad when we pull things together.
No, I understand the situation, and you know, honestly, I've been there with having a vacancy that you had to cover for, and when I was finance director, I had to do AP sometimes, and it meant coming in, you know, an hour or 2 early every day to get the AP done. So I understand that happens. We just want to make sure that on a regular basis, your staffing is appropriate. So if I can interject on sick leave, I think you'd be okay.
there's always unexpected events, and your political leadership has got to understand that you can't run $40 million operations on a shoestring as if it were a kitchen table enterprise. And they really have to give you the resources.
Yeah. So speaking of the resources, your narrative, your responses to the audit comments talked about your financial system and that you're planning to put it in for fiscal 23-24. Is there funding in the proposed budget for fiscal 22-23 so that you can purchase the software and begin to train and do the conversion?
Walt, would you like to take this question? Because I did put some money in a capital plan for new software, but I don't know, this is the plan, as we know.
Are you asking the mayor to answer?
Right now we are in a budget process, so it's not up to me if this project will be approved.
I understand that, but you have made the request.
Yes.
Okay. I think, it's very important that this happen. It's a clear deficiency. And I think there are other things that, honestly, I'm seeing in your reports to us that need to be addressed and should be addressed, and probably you can't address them until you get a better accounting system. So I'd like to make sure that that really happens. The other comment in your management letter that concerns me, and this is not your issue, this is something the elected officials need to address, but there's a statement that the city changes finance directors every election year. And that is just not a good practice. It's a position that you need to have continuity. You need to have independence from the political process. So I think that's a message we need to push with the elected officials.
I agree, Kate.
All right. Sorry, Kim, I took away from you.
You're fine. No, I agree.
The problem is a little bit different. It's just that I don't have really accounting infrastructure here because of the changes, constant changes. That's why I kind of like, if you coming to the city where you have to look for every item and like your shared drive, like it's so little information retained, and audit has to be built from the, there's no audit file kind of, it's just a little bit information from the auditor you get. So I used to have my own audit file, and now I have to kind of build this. So if you have, at least 2 years, 3 years of good audit information, you build the things on and continue to grow.
Yeah.
And that's the first year you have to really put effort to build this stuff. And I spent some time on this, but I'm still searching, still research things, and I'm, with about tax collector, also I am kind of like, okay, I need to be looking for information from tax office. And that's experience, you get when you don't have tax collector, but there are stuff can be really prepped for the audit very easily, not until, last minute. And that's my goal too, to build those files, to retain the information.
Okay. Kim, did you have more?
I do. So if we look at your audit findings, how many of these findings do you anticipate will be closed this fiscal year?
So as I said to you, the green stuff I sent, it's almost done. And so the green stuff is good.
Thank you.
Open items, I kind of I hate to push audits quickly because we have opportunity here on the Board of Education side, Accountants Works. They got, I think, bank recs module working for them. However, they cannot tie to beginning balances of working trial balance. So we need to, the system was never closed properly. So establishing beginning balances for 2020 fiscal year, it's important for me. Otherwise, we always gonna be not utilizing the software. So my goal is to ask Board of Ed to make sure they're using accounting, accountants there who can put accruals on, who can build something which we can continue maintain. I have a huge refund from IRS in October, and I find that when business manager left Board of Ed, it was like, the money, the communication was lost. So they kind of rebuilding all communication processes with a ledger. And what I'm saying is, like, I really want to have accrued trial balance from Board of Ed tied to beginning balance, ending balances, because this wasn't done before. And that's my unique opportunity to have accountants there.
Have you had success? Do you know if they plan on doing that or not?
I don't know if Matt is there or someone from Board of Ed. I think he was invited. Right now, they have a agency working, and those are people who kind of know the system and helping out. But as I said, right now, I don't want to just take whatever numbers, cash basis. I need a really accrual basis accounting to tie the deferrals and receivables, because this was not really done for the audit, and this can be done.
Okay.
It's just to be firm with that.
Sure. Understand.
So this funding is kind of last most important one, which is orange, and has to be, and I'm hoping that this can be completed if we well progress with the situation on Board of Ed side. And as I said, compensated absences also, it's our problem. The city has to build something, some kind of infrastructure to get this quick, easy, and correct.
Okay.
So those two major analysts to do it. Otherwise, keeping up wherever we have.
The other question I had for you was, again, on the reporting side, when I look at your reporting, your month end for the current fiscal year, the report is stating that it is through February the 5th. Are you able to run that report on a month end for January 31st rather than the February 5th? Yes?
I can, but the only reason why the posting, quite often we post yeah, I will do that 31st. Yeah, I just want to capture more stuff. That's fine. Posting is.
I'm just looking. Yeah, I think month end close, the one just before our meetings is appropriate.
Okay, I will use it then.
Thank you. The only other question I had, Kate, was that I'm not familiar, Agata, with these balance sheet summary year reports, and I'm just not familiar with these. Called something a balance sheet, and this activity that's in here. It looks like it's cash.
Report. It's a
tax report. Okay, thank you.
Tax report. I'm trying to. This is the report I'm using for audit, and I'm trying to keep up with what's receivable. And then I ran this up to January 31st, which is very important for us to recognize collection for motor vehicle supplements and things like that. So that's why I ran this just for my own sake to get the snapshot of this 6 months collections.
Okay. Yeah. I had one more question on your the findings from the prior year. One of the ones you highlighted in green about interfund transfers. Your management comment was that you'd done them all except for one for the middle school, as there was not enough money available. So you still have to address that. So what's your plan, and do you know why there was a shortfall?
Honestly, I don't know. That's the other projects, because this is the auditor. I'm taking basically auditor trial balance and trying to use it up, but I'm not totally familiar with all capital projects and what's going on with the, grants. I think this is the grant part.
Okay.
And I hear the story that we have to go back to the, request the grants, and there are lots of grants. Has to be really, put on the map. Because I'm not familiar with any. I'm kind of trying to find out more about grants, what's going on with the city. So that's kind of my comment. I tried to. The reason why I closed all YouTubes was because that's how I learn who owns who money. And
yeah. But if the
learn,
project was, closed with a deficit, you're going to have to address that at some point.
Yeah, so that's I think it's still ongoing grant. It's just a long overdue closing project.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions for Derby?
When do you anticipate the audit to be completed?
Working with auditor, trying to get, as I said, this is the target, February. But if Board of Ed has to have more time to get their ledger in shape, I would still consider moving, to get this funding off and get the right process in place. That's my goal. I think getting audit by the end of February would be great. But if I can get those fundings out and get the system working, would be much beneficial.
Well,
so my answer is February, but if it has to take time, March.
Yeah, I would probably say that if they're still doing field work in the Board of Ed, and if you aren't at a draft situation of a set of financials, I don't see how in 2 weeks you can close the books and be done by the end of the year. Not in 2 weeks. My guess is it's gonna move until March.
So auditor telling me that he's gonna be finalizing kind of draft, but we're waiting for Board of Ed final numbers to just get those trial balances working.
Okay.
I think we'd like an update as soon as you have one. It doesn't have to wait for the next meeting.
I will send a draft. I was asking for preliminary as soon as possible, but just few things holding. So, and then we already have kind of good understanding what we have in last year. But as I said, final is final. So it's better to have a preliminary audit information for you sooner.
Okay.
Okay, I do have a question.
Yep, go for it.
So I don't know if you might have touched on this a little bit, but I know in the findings, it was noted there was not enough staff over at the Board of Education. And I know they're kind of seem to be handling everything all on their own. They have their own checking accounts and kind of operate autonomously from the city. What is being done on their end, or if anything that you know of, to properly staff their office? Because it does sound like they're a part of the issue as well.
So as I recommended, they did hire accountants to help with year end, but because they also lost business manager recently, there's no one there. So I hope they stay to continue with maintaining wherever we can build, but I don't know. It's a superintendent question. Who's gonna be replace business manager there?
Because it does seem like that's another huge part of getting everything that you need to complete the audit and have accurate financials.
Yeah, and that's the piece of I'm trying to communicate with Board of Education. We need to have someone who can prep information properly for the audit. I cannot go and do check reconciliation for them.
Right.
So I record all the cash basis accounting, but like I did a receivable on my books, and I looking their trial balance, there's no receivable on their books. So I'm like, okay, it has to be really accountant, who can kind of communicate well with this office.
Are they on the same system, financial system?
No.
Would there be thought when you're looking at the new system of maybe having them be on that system as well? Just a thought.
Yeah, that would be best.
Okay.
Concept. Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else? All right, thank you, Agatha. I think we've still got a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Ellington is next on the agenda. And I think I saw that the first selectman was here earlier.
Hi, this is Tiffany, the Finance Officer, Town of Ellington.
Hello, I'm sorry, can you repeat your name?
Kate Pignataro.
Thank you.
Yep.
Kate, it's Glenn again. This is another client of ours, just for the record.
Okay. So I was looking at your update and
Yes.
I gotta say, I think, it looks like you're doing really well.
Yes.
And I did not have any questions. So any of the board members have questions? Diane?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Tony?
No, I thought it looked really well. I'm all set. Thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, I am good as well.
John?
I'm good.
Glenn?
I'm good as well.
Kim?
The only item, Tiffany, I think that would be relevant for the committee to hear is the the audit finding that you have that was a repeat, but I think that you brought that to our attention and you had identified that ahead of time, ahead of the auditors.
Yes. Yep. Yes.
So I think that it's important for everybody to understand that.
So are you speaking about the depreciation issue from the prior year audit?
Yes.
Okay, so that was something that we addressed last year. Last year was my first year with the Town of Ellington. So in going through everything for the first time, I discovered the depreciation issue and identified that for the auditors, and we brought it to them as a client proposed adjustment because we identified it. It wasn't identified as a result of the audit procedures. But due to the significance of the dollar value of the adjustment, it was listed as a state and federal audit finding. So, we did not have that same issue in the fiscal 21 audit, which we filed in December. And we went live with Infinite Visions, which is a Tyler Technology product, the little brother of the Munis accounting system. And we have the fixed asset module, and we are in the process of getting that up and running for the fiscal 22 audit. So we're happy to say that that's behind us and we're moving in the right direction. And, I know it's been a little bit of a rocky road for the Town of Ellington, but I'm happy to be here. I have an excellent staff working with me. My assistant finance officer is fantastic. And, I'm jazzed to be here and I think we're doing really good things. And I think, the memo that I provided to you all in advance of this meeting really kind of sings the same tune. So, we are respectfully asking to be removed from these meetings because of the significant progress we're making. Also, just two other, little bragging points for us here at the Town of Ellington that I forgot to mention in my memo. We have instituted a fund balance policy. So policy states that only emergency appropriations can be made from unassigned fund balance as deemed by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. And our policy states that we are hoping to get to 10% of budgeted expenditures as a fund balance reserve. And as of June 30th, 2021, our audited financial statements, we are at $3.5 million and 6.3 is our 10% target. So, we're not going to be able to get there in 1 year because of the fact that we're losing our fund balance, but we are about halfway there.
That is fabulous news.
Oh, and also the other note that I wanted to make was that in June of this past year, as Glenn is aware, we issued bonds in June of 2021. And through the policy, we were upgraded our credit rating. We went from a Moody's AA3 to an S&P AA with a stable outlook. So that is a step up for the town. So we're also very proud to report that because of the fund balance initiatives and the economic development and getting our financials in line with the town, you know, that even the credit ratings seem to see that the town is moving in a positive direction. So
that's terrific. So is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion to release
I will make a
Ellington?
motion. I will make a motion to release Ellington from the Municipal Finance Advisory Commission.
And
I'll
we have a-
second it.
That was Tony seconding or John?
John.
Either one.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? I just want to say very good job.
Yeah, I'll second that as well. Nice work.
thank you very much.
Very good work.
Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I think I should probably abstain, being a client.
That would be Glenn, yes. Okay. With that, the motion passes, and thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And no offense, but we hope
Don't
never
say
to
that.
see you again.
Thank you.
Next up is Hamden.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lauren Garrett. I'm the mayor. I've been in here for about 2.5 months now. Last month, we hired Curtis Eatman as our finance director. He's here with me this morning. And he was in Hamden as finance director for just over a year prior to my administration. I thought it was very important to have somebody in here who understood our challenges and understood the department. I know that the MFAC has told us that we need to have more continuity in our finance department. So that's part of the reason why I chose to hire Curtis. And it's also why I have asked the Charter Revision Commission to allow us more continuity in our finance department. Currently, our charter says that the finance director serves coterminous with the mayor. So what I'm asking is that the finance director is allowed to serve overlapping terms with the mayor. Our charter is open right now and being revised, so it's a good opportunity to put this safeguard in our charter. We are doing pretty well financially in Hamden right now. Our audit has been completed and needs to get shown to our audit committee on the Legislative Council. We have been given Exhibit F in advance, showing a $6.5 million unassigned fund balance. We have also established a fund balance policy, which we have shared with all of you. The fund balance policy was voted favorably in committee and needs to go to the full council, which will happen next Monday. And we anticipate it passing through the Legislative Council. Protecting the fund balance puts Hamden on the right path. We appropriately funded the pension last year and will again this year at 100% of our actuarially required contribution. And we are in the process of creating a long-term policy to attack our debt. This is the first year that we will no longer be budgeting for Quinnipiac University revenue. We have been in discussion with Quinnipiac University. They have not been thrilled that we've been budgeting in the past. And I have committed to them that I will not budget in the future. This is a revenue that has always been a problem for us, never come in. And so we are trying to make sure that our revenues are actually predictable. I also have with me today Rick Galarza, our Deputy Finance Director. And with that, I will pass it over to them.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Just wanted to go through some of the points that the commission has given to us. Just going through our 2021 audited / unaudited operating results. As you can see from Exhibit F, the town took in about $3 million less than anticipated. Majority of the losses came in from the motor vehicle and other revenue was miscellaneous. And again, what the mayor has stated, that was the Quinnipiac University. We budgeted about $500,000 for that, and that did not materialize. On the expenditures, the town continues to process of controlling spending. We came in approximately $9.3 million under budget. Majority of that was because of the savings and the debt restructuring, about $5.7 million, as you can see. The town has to address the findings in that particular audit, 20-01 and 20-02. As we look forward, both 20-01 was the general fund deficit, which has been addressed and mitigated as of the funding of this audit. And then the second one was the pension COLA. The Retirement Pension Board has addressed that and will make a recommendation to the Legislative Town Council at a later date. Moving on to our summary of our budget. So the town of Camden, has received about roughly 83% or $218 million in the fiscal year 2022 adopted budget. The remaining budget to collect is about $43 million. As of this communication, our tax collection rate is about 97.1% of the property tax revenue that we've collected. And the town will again continue to move and evaluate its budgetary assumptions as we move forward, and to watch our revenues. The expenditures, the town has expended about 59%, or roughly $153 million. As you know, expenditures sometimes fluctuate. The town is expecting the $6.6 million in debt savings at the end of the year. We anticipate that coming. We are watching closely on medical expense and medical costs, working very closely with our medical consultants. And we'll have a better understanding of our year end within the next couple of months, after we prepare the mayor's proposed recommended budget. In regards to the Municipal Finance Advisory Commission response letter, we have addressed the things that the mayor has said. We've addressed the fund balance policy that was adopted, but not adopted, but passed on committee. We have, and we continue to believe that that will be adopted at the next regularly scheduled council meeting. We have submitted a revised mayor proposed capital budget, which was submitted to the council finance committee. And the council will begin to deliberate on that. And the request for number 5 on the American Rescue Plan or Act or ARPA, the town will receive a total of $24 million from the federal government. The legislative administration, legislative council, and the community will jointly develop a spending plan and how to spend those funds appropriately. Moving on to point 6, OPEB or other post-employment benefits. In the mayor's recommended budget for fiscal year 22-23, the administration will address OPEB funding and strategies to address the long-term liabilities. Attached, you will find at the request of this commission an experience study that was recommended by this commission. The pension board has taken action on that, and to satisfy that request. That's what we have. We stand ready to address any of your questions.
I have no questions because I find the information that you provided us regarding your current year results wholly inadequate. There's no way to ask questions. So I have none. Any commissioners have questions?
I do not.
Tony?
I don't have any on the presentation except that you had mentioned that you had paid the full ARC. Have you addressed adjusting your discount figures? Your assumed income?
Yes.
No, yes?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're in the process of having that conversation with our financial advisors and our Siegel, who does our pension actuarial reports. We're going to bring that more in line to a more realistic baseline.
Yeah.
And you said you had passed a fund balance policy through committee. I didn't hear what that particularly was. Did you say?
Yeah, we submitted our fund balance policy to our legislative body. First it goes to committee, then it gets approved by the legislative council. As of today, well, we understand that it's favorable for the town. It's projecting that we have 7% in our fund balance, with the safeguard that the town is aware, the legislative council is aware that we're going to be favorable at our year end for 21 with 6.5 million in our fund balance, which is about 3%. In the current year, we're also projecting another 6.5 based on the deficit mitigation plan. That will bring us up to 6%. And what we have submitted to the MFAC committee was our proposal for our debt service restructuring, which will be the third phase of our debt service refinancing and restructuring model that takes 3 years to implement. For the ensuing fiscal year, that would be the third year. We're projecting about a 10% savings or reduction to our debt service payment, which will bring us closely up to $20 million with the projected fund balance, unassigned fund balance over the next fiscal year of a closely $20 million, which would be around 10% of our operating costs if we hold our operating costs to no more than a 2.5 increase year after year for the town, for our general fund.
Otherwise, I join the chairman and the other board members that we really didn't have enough in advance and in detail to really dig in with questions.
I do have a question. So you mentioned about OPEB and the strategy for addressing your long-term liability. So what are your strategies to address not only the funding of the liability, but controlling or reducing that liability in terms of your controlling your healthcare retiree costs?
Yeah, so with the new administration, we had preliminary discussions with our auditor and with Siegel, and to discuss our OPEB. Currently in the audit that you'll see for the close of 21, our OPEB liability is around $270 million. So we have a trust. We have about $1 million in our trust. We currently make an annual contribution of $250,000 annually to our OPEB contribution. So that handles our short term. The $1 million in the trust would handle any exposure in our general fund. So that's our short-term view. For our long-term view, we understand that we're going to have to negotiate with our unions. The contracts are up and they all expire. Fires expires this year for our public safety, and then in the ensuing fiscal year, all the other unions expire. So through contract negotiations, we're going to have to make some adjustments in there to help the town reduce its long-term liability and OPEB. We're also discussing maybe looking at our opt-out programs so that employees have the opportunity to opt out of our medical. And that's another option that would pay off from a long-term perspective. So we understand our short-term, and we're going to work with the unions collaboratively with the legislative council as well, so that we can start addressing our long-term OPEB liabilities for the town.
So you have, just so I understand, you have a $250 million liability and $1 million in your trust. and you contribute $250,000 annually. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's what the previous administration made for it. It's pay as you go. So that's what our annual. Go ahead.
So, so I was going to say, if you continue along that funding line, you're going to have to make some serious inroads on controlling the actual liability, because I don't think you'll really get anywhere with that amount of funding.
Yep. So understood, and we understand, and we're going to start, with the new administration. That's one of our priorities that we brought to their attention, and we're going to, we're in the process of working on the mayor's recommended budget.
Yep.
So we have, short term under control, but we do have to look at that long term trajectory to try to put something in place to start. We're going to need the union support. We're going to need the legislative council support. And we are looking to make a more significant contribution to the fund in the upcoming fiscal years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kate, I just have a couple of comments. First on OPEB, and it's great if you've got the opportunity with upcoming union negotiations. I know here in Waterbury, we have a tremendous OPEB liability, but one of the things that was done, actually going back to when the oversight board was here in Waterbury, the contract negotiations introduced a stopgap measure more than anything else, where if an employee was hired after a certain date, essentially for post-employment medical, they would have to pay 100% in order to receive coverage through the city or town. So you may want to look at possible options along those, not only along with getting certain concessions from current active employees, but trying to put some type of stopgap measure going forward for future hirees. And the other comment I had, I was looking at some of the material that was provided in the debt financing strategy and from Raymond James, and Rick, I think you spoke to this a little bit, but the schedule that I'm looking at shows a $10 million increase in debt service for fiscal 23. Is that reconciling with your numbers, or are there financings or refundings that have occurred to lower that impact going into next year?
So yes, I appreciate you bringing that out. So that is accurate, and we are, I hate to use these, colorful terms like the scoop and chuck, but we are pushing out some of our debt. What between that point in time, we have options in town. We can make an additional contribution over those 10 years before we get to that mark to offset that. We also have an opportunity in the upcoming fiscal years to refinance our OPEB debt that we have to try to get a lower interest rate. So that will save some money into the debt service payment, because right now between our POB and our town long-term liabilities, that's really the debt service payment that you see on our debt service. One other interesting fact, if you look at the year that strategically we try to place the $10 million in a year where the town's beginning to drop its debt service payments. So instead of it dropping a year sooner, we're going to keep it at its current level one more fiscal year to offset that $10 million increase. So it puts the town in a position, instead of losing, having a savings for 1 year, it just pushes that payment out one more year. So we have to float that additional $10 million cost for one fiscal year going out. But I think we're going to reap the benefits over the next decade, especially if we have to go out to bond and get lower interest rates. It's going to put the town in a more favorable position with a stronger fund balance. So I think pushing out the $10 million is, the benefits that we're going to realize in Hamden way overweigh what that cost is going to be a decade from now.
So you're planning a refinancing that's not in this report that will delay that $10 million increase?
Well, I'm sorry, is that your question?
Well, yeah, so you've got what you're planning to do is going to push that $10 million increase in the next fiscal year out further. You won't have the $10 million bump next year.
No, we don't have a $10 million bump next year. What we have, instead of we're taking steps to go up to $30 million. And that's our normal debt service payment. So over the course of the next couple of years, we're going to go up to $30 million. And then if you look at our debt service analysis, we're going to stay flat, you know, around $30 million. And then what would have happened was, instead of in fiscal year, I think 2033, instead of it dropping by that 10 million, we're just going to keep it 10 million higher for one more fiscal year.
But right now you're at 17 million, according to this schedule on page 2.
Currently, we are budgeted for this fiscal year for $24 million in our debt service line. That difference is going to our fund balance. So this is how we are putting money into our fund balance, but it's also how we're alleviating this huge jump in debt service. So my budget will have $26 million for debt service, allowing us at the end of the fiscal year to put more money into the fund balance. That difference between our real debt service payment and what we're actually funding. And it's helping us to ease our way into the $30 million debt service payment, so that we don't have a huge jump in one fiscal year.
Okay.
Right. So for this fiscal year, you're going to have that additional savings that will go to fund balance.
Right. Correct.
For your proposed budget for next year, what are you anticipating your debt service being budgeted at?
It'll be at 26 million. You're going to have a $2 million increase for next fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to get eventually to 30. So we're going to do like 2 million, 2.5 million increase until we get to 30. And if you look at the schedule, we stay at 30 for over a decade. And that's what our normal debt service payment should be. So we're like our pension, we're doing a ramp up phase. We're gonna benefit from the lower principal and interest payments. And we're in agreement to budget at a certain level so that we can generate the savings at the end. And then we'll address the $10 million, you know, as we move through the fiscal years.
Okay. Yeah, I'm following you. So I guess if you budget 26 million for next year,
right?
The schedule indicates that the debt service is projected at 27.4 million.
Right.
So what's going to cover that difference? Is there an anticipated financing that's yet to happen?
Yes. So as we said, this is a 3-year process. Our debt service mitigation plan, we're on year 2. So the strategy that was submitted to the MFAC was the last and the final phase of going out in the summer to bond and to do a debt restructure and to do a small debt restructure, a minimal debt restructure, and to do another refinancing of our debt.
Okay. To give you the savings to cover that gap for at least next year. And
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
If I can ask on that, sorry to jump in, but with regards to that reliance on the refunding side of it, are you monitoring or taking a look at how interest rates are now moving, frankly, against where things were? I mean, the report was done back in December.
Right.
10-year treasury is up near 2 at this point, where back then it was, significantly less. How are you approaching that, seeing that, like Mike said, there's a gap in that budgeting, and it seems like it's reliant on refunding?
Well, to Mike's point, so yes, we're monitoring on a monthly basis the interest rates. It's this plan that we sent to the MFAC. It's already went before the Legislative Council. So they are at the end of the month have the opportunity to vote for it. We feel, the administration in the finance department feels that they're in favor of approving the plan, and that would allow us to go to market as soon as the town can put together the OS. So we understand that interest rates are going up, so that's why we want to expedite this process.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question on the debt service schedule. So this appears, at least the one I'm looking at here, appears as if this is your current debt schedule, correct? I mean, this is your going forward. Do you have any assumptions here for any new debt, or and how this sort of ties into your capital plan? And do you have any the next 5 years? Do you have any school debt or road debt or any other debt that will impact this schedule? Because it doesn't look like there's any debt added on to this at any time.
Yes, understood. So within the debt mitigation plan, within the strategy, as Mike, I think, mentioned earlier, so we have existing debt that we will restructure and some series refinance. We have built into this component a $10 million of new ask money that's built into the schedule, and that would address now the BOE with all the ARPA funds and what we've done in town already for the schools. And I think at the last MFAC meeting, we indicated to the MFAC that we cleared our deck with everything authorized but unissued. So now everything's been issued. So we do have we did pass the capital plan for year one, and that was around $10 million. The mayor has reviewed that plan, made adjustments, sent it back to council. So it's around $9 million now. So new capital is built into this plan. So we're aware that, we're always going to have to, modify our infrastructure every year. So yes to that answer. And also we're going to utilize ARPA funds, and we're also going to utilize funding for the infrastructure that we don't have the amount yet, but we know that's going to be released from the federal government. So we have different models of our funding sources outside of just, our debt service, which, we raise taxes for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Just one question, Kate.
Yep.
Concerning the ARPA funds, do you have a grant administration office or a person with expertise to be able to comply with those regulations when you build your plan?
We are currently working and getting some outside consultants to help us prepare this plan. We have read both the finance, have read both the interim and final rules of the ARPA administration. So we actually have internally we have an understanding of those rules, but we also have resources outside that we can contact and work with as we build this plan. We're also looking at CCM and several other guidelines to help also inform us and inform our decision-making process.
Okay. Is there anything else? All right. Thank you. Next time I would like to see actual reports from your financial system showing the year-to-date results. What you presented, it's inadequate. So we need to see that next time. Next up is Plymouth. And I think we've got nothing from Plymouth. Completely nothing. So AFDR results.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, we have
Great.
someone from Plymouth.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Actually, Grace, if I may, Mayor Kilduff, this is my first meeting, so I just wanted to introduce myself. I want to just apologize for not getting you those financials for this meeting. It's not because I don't think this board is important. I do. I recognize that this board is a very important resource for us. But by charter, my budget was due. So with our staffing level as it currently is, I had to pull Grace away from compiling those reports to you so I could comply with our charter to get our budget to the Board of Finance. So for our next meeting, you will certainly have your full request.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So then, Kim, do you want to talk to us about the AFDR?
Before we move from Plymouth, could we just ask about their audit and make sure that they're on track
time?
with, yes.
So Plymouth, are you on time with your audit? Do you expect it to be, actually hasn't been filed yet? I'm going to guess you're asking, so the answer is no, it hasn't been filed.
Yes, we plan to have, we filed for another extension and we got the extension as of through February 28th. We are currently in the process of updating our records.
When do you expect it'll be complete?
By March 31st.
And is there something specific that is holding it up?
Staffing, the fact that records weren't kept up to date. I started here. I'm officially now the finance director. I'm no longer the interim finance director, but I just started here a couple of months ago. Yeah, we've been working diligently to try to catch everything up, and it's definitely our plan to catch up.
If I may, I would just like to add a little context to that. So back in the summer, our payroll clerk, just coming back from maternity leave, did decide to leave permanently. So that was sending us down, a staff person in there. And then upon my election, we did, the finance director position was vacant. So it took a little while to find Grace. And we are currently interviewing for a staff accountant level to bring us back up to full staff. So I would say that the main reason of the delayed audit is staffing, and hopefully we'll be back up to where we were in short order.
I want to say that this board has been very active with Plymouth for a long time, and that they had a history of providing good information on the financial side. So with the change of administration, I don't know if the backlog is just occurring through the change of administration, but and where that backlog actually is. But I want to say that we were provided information reporting and could have a report out specifically from that finance director. And so it would be important to know how far behind you are, because we were receiving information timely.
We are up to date on entering our information with the staffing issues and the various deadlines, the budget being one of them. Okay. I was not able to provide you that information from the system.
Okay. So do you have adequate staffing now?
No, we are in the process of interviewing, and we've had some good candidates in. I have a couple more interviews the end of this week, today and tomorrow. And we plan on moving quickly yet with the right person.
What position is that? Is that the payroll?
No, it's a staff accountant. We have a
staff accountant.
We have an AP payroll clerk. It's a staff accountant.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And not to mention that the AP payroll clerk was out with COVID and vacation back to back. So.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Okay. All right. Thank you. And we look forward to getting lots of good data at our next meeting.
Will do.
All right. Kim.
On the finance, the fiscal health monitoring system, Kate, is that where you're referring to?
Can I just ask, I mean, 69 extensions, is that normal?
Bill.
I think it's a little high this year, but we hopefully February is like a key month. Usually we get a lot of reports in at that time, so we'll have a better understanding at the end of close to the end of February whether those reports will all be, the majority of those reports will be in.
Okay.
I will admit Bristol is one of them. And it's not us. So we're doing everything we can from the auditors to get them to get it done by the end of the month.
Yeah, I wonder how many of these things are impacted by, like COVID.
COVID, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not happy here because we're in the middle of budget and doing an bond issue. And, all the state reporting that, we're doing with the CARES money. So it's a little bit of a busy time right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we doing any outreach, or I shouldn't say we, is OPM doing any outreach to the people who haven't done any of their tiles on the, financial reporting website?
Yes, we actually.
Does Darien have our tiles done?
Sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head. But I know somebody on my team can look quickly while we're on this call. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Outreach to the ones who haven't done their tiles.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Yes, we did send out a message on the 4th to everybody to reach out and actually have asked, if they need one-on-one attention, if they need help to walk through it, we will provide that. Mike and Morgan on our team have been doing a really great job with the individual reach out and follow up to help the towns get their information through. Anything else, Bill, that you want to add?
And also, yes, Darien did complete their tiles.
Thank you, Morgan. I knew you would know.
We gave additional time, until early March, and we've offered individual meetings with towns to assist, and but we have started to look to collect some data ourselves because there's probably going to be some towns that just do not submit.
And they're going to maybe struggle with at the same time of some of the other, CARES reporting that's coming through.
Yeah, there's a lot to be done, and some of them, just struggling to get their audits done.
Correct.
Obviously. Okay.
So we're excited that we're where we're at and continuing to march on.
It is a lot easier to do than the previous method.
Thank you.
Yes,
we've been waiting.
Because that used to take forever.
You should be commended for having them work on that. It really is a lot easier than what was done in
This
the past.
team, every single one of us took part in a lot of time, a lot of effort to build the structure. It might not be perfect, but we definitely looked to allow towns so that if they didn't want that flexibility of putting in a uniform chart and tying in that chart directly, we're getting the uniform numbers as long as you put the data in on that line. And then we have a uniform structure. You don't have to change your chart of accounts for it. A different thought process, a different methodology, plus we weren't getting the outcome. So, and there wasn't any legislation that gave us the outcome. So and I think that we're going to get a lot more meaningful data when we're through this. And it is a learning curve. It's a learning curve. But hopefully our next step after we get through this will be then the reporting out.
Well, if we get, people who have done it to talk about it, like say, hey, this is pretty easy.
Yeah. Especially for the big towns, right?
Yeah.
When you get the data out, it'll be actually easier for us to use and compare with each other.
Yeah.
That's sort of the goal here. I mean, that's really when it'll be very useful. You'll see the results of,
a lot of data.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Can we do something for the towns that come to us to, maybe just give them, this is the standard information we expect. When you're presenting us with results, the summary that Hamden provided, just there's no way to say that we even can verify that this is what came off of their accounting system. There's no independence to it. So I know it can be pages and pages for us to go through, but a report off their computer system is the ideal. And
we agree.
for like the point that you raised, Kim, with several of them is that running the actual year to date to the specific date, you know, I appreciate that they think they're giving us the most up to date information and that's their goal, but it would be better, I think, to have it for a full month.
Correct.
You know, if you're one who wants to do like, okay, well, that's 7 months through the year.
Exactly.
This is where
That's
they
what I
should
did.
be, rather than
agree,
7 months and 5 days or 8 days.
Right.
So maybe we could give them a
ha-
standard.
We have, Kate, actually, this format was a summary of prior receiving too much information or so large. Their report was so large and it was so we're working with them, and I can tell you that my team, Julian, spent some time with them and to try to get them to where we want them to be under the prior administration. And so they kept the template, but this time they didn't give us the reports. So the reports was really just to give it to have that summary in front of the deep dive should we want it, but they didn't provide it. So yeah, I think that a standard format amongst all of the towns would be helpful. It does seem the monthly report seems to be a struggle. We were lucky this is even to get them to give us the some information ahead of time, except for one town. But we're moving in the right direction, Kate. I do think, yeah, I think a standardized approach is definitely warranted. Julian's with me on the call, and he has created a standard format and request form for the MARB, and so maybe that is something that Julian and Bill, we can take a look at and see if we can push that through for MFAC as well.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Diane moved, Kim seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Take care, everyone.
Kate, 5 towns in an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Nice.
well, that's
Great job.
2 of them didn't take too long. So, all right, thank you all.
Thank you.